Hi, my name is Pauline Joe. I'm a therapist here at Lartey Wellness Group. And in today's session, I was thinking about the topic of mental health and, what's been going on in the Olympics. And what prompted me to think of this topic was because I'm a huge fan of Simone Biles. And we know that she took some time off. My understanding is that she didn't like completely drop out of the Olympics, but like I think of the group like com- com- uh, competition. I was going to say competitive part, but competition. Um, Yvonne, do you know or have you been keeping up with the Olympics at all?
I have. I love Simone Biles. I love Olympics. I love the balance beam, all of that. I grew up always loving that. That was always my thing that I always wanted to watch. Yes. So I have been watching it, not as much as I'd like to, but I know they're having some issues going on with their mental health, this pandemic, all the different things that are going on within the
Mhm.
Olympic teams, and just what's going on over in that country. There are a lot of things going on that I've been wanting to know more about. But yes, I've been watching snippets here and there.
I'm having a very similar experience. The Olympics, I don't recall it being kind of all over the place, like, 4 a.m., 12 p.m., 2 a.m., 11 p.m. But I think it's because, um, we all missed essentially like over a year of our life. And so there's kind of this pressure that, okay, it's the Olympics 2021. Um, it's the show must go on, and then you have all these athletes like Simone Biles who are pressured to perform under these very insane circumstances.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I could imagine that is affecting her mental health. Um, wanting to perform, and yet all these other pressures that are placed upon you that you had never had to deal with before. So, and I think that's synonymous with a lot of us are dealing with pressures and things that we haven't had to deal with before. Um, and it's not like you had any hindsight about it either. It's just placed upon you. I could speak about that on my job. Pressures placed upon myself and co-workers to come to work, to not come to work, to telework, to not telework. They're just, yeah, a lot of us are dealing with that. But the Olympics, it's it's a huge thing, but yet you can see that there's some things happening that it just kind of breaks your heart.
Yeah, definitely. You're right, and I have thought about that, but you emphasizing it is a good reminder that um, Simone probably took a really long time to like come to this decision. I don't think it was like something that she like came into the Olympics even thinking, but I'm sure as like time passed and again the circumstances being different, having to train in this traumatic year, even if she is number one and she has all this like money and fame and this and that, that she's still a human being at the end of the day, at the core of it all. And I also thought about how I'm sure that's impacting a lot of the Olympic competitors aside from her, not being able to have the support of other people. Like it's in a way, it's nice that there's not a lot of people in the stadiums because, you know, it's, I guess you can focus more, but at the same time, I feel like it's difficult because, for instance, Simone, like I think her family's in Texas, so like her family is not there with her physically. And so I imagine that is really hard because she's always performed with her family and her friends in the audience. And now they're, I think it's like thousands and thousands of miles away.
I could imagine that's difficult because, I mean, myself, if I were performing or doing something really important, especially on that scale for my country, and they're not physically there to support me, it would be extremely difficult. Um, Knowing that they've always been there. And for this momentous occasion to not be there at all, yeah, yeah, that would be quite, quite difficult. But what a courageous person. I also see that part about her. What a courageous person that she is to continue on under such circumstances. Um, and I try to find some good. I'm the type of person I try to find some good even in bad, challenging situations. But I
Mm.
think it will make her a stronger person for it, although challenging.
Yeah, definitely. Now, granted, I know that there's so many different like news outlets and just so many places to get information these days. But for the places that I've been getting information, I see only praise in Simone's choice. Again, though very, I imagine, very difficult. Um, there's also kind of that layer that um, people have been talking about where African American women have been forced to choose between like giving up their labor or giving like giving into the labor force or sacrificing their mental health. And again, like, knowing that there's so much pressure, her, being like representing not just herself, but like the whole country. Um, I think that was really strong of her to say, I have had enough. This is my limit, and I'm happy with the silver medal that I earned.
I certainly agree with that. Um, African Americans have a unique position in any time myself being African American, anytime we accomplish something, it's either looked upon as for our people, so to speak, African Americans, and then um, that's another kind of pressure that can be there as well. Um, and that's on all different scales, on all different parts of life, whether it be professional, um, you know, uh, in every area of our lives. When we do something, it's looked upon in a different way.
Mhm.
Um, and the and there's also that pressure. I am African American, um, as though it's something that what the word I want to use. It's something that's out of the norm of some sort, kind of looking at it like that. But yeah, that's another layer, being African American. It's this, oh yeah, she's African American. Look at what she's doing. And we've been in the Olympics for many, many years, in all different areas, mostly, probably track and field and things like that. But um, I just commend her for being the person that she is. And I'm very proud of everything that she's accomplished.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And before we continue on, I see as someone has joined. Um, I see your name is Misha.
Yes, hi there. I normally have joined these groups,
Oh.
sorry, my son, in the past, but hi Frank. Um, I've been on vacation for a while, so I'm back finally to join the Q&As. And I am duly diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder and major depressive disorder. And I just really like coming to these groups to just see, what other people are talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Nisa. How are you? My name is Yvonne. I'm an intern
Hi,
at Lartey Wellness. How are you?
I'm doing well. I actually had some really good news to share that since I've been on vacation for the past couple weeks and I haven't had a chance to attend the normal Q&A sessions because I've been taking advantage of sleeping in, that I have gotten, since I've received a full-time job offer, which I will be starting on Monday, because that was something I was talking about. I was struggling with a little bit, how to go back into the workplace when you are diagnosed with mental illness, and how do you bring that up to, your employers, or is that something you let them find out? Because recently I had an episode where I was put into a PHP IOP program back in March. I spent 8 weeks there. And so it's like a little bit, not that much time has passed since I've been out of the program and now hopping back into full-time work after not having worked for like a year. So it is a concern. It is something that makes me very nervous. I'll be working as a private event manager here in DC at the Capital One Arena, where like the Wizards and everyone plays for their lounge. And it's what I went to school to know how to do, but I've never had to be at work. I've never had an episode like I've had while I've been working. And I'm very nervous about, if I have the proper tools that I need to get through the stress, because it is a high stress, high touch job, to not take me back to that place where, excuse me, where it was before, where I would have to disclose that to my employer. So that's like, sorry to interrupt what you guys were talking about.
It's okay.
Oh, not at all.
A little bit about what I wanted to share about where I'm at and what I'm doing. I normally see a lot more familiar faces in the group when it's first started, but I'm glad to have you here and meet you too, and kind of maybe get some feedback or some advice about, dealing with, like, how do you deal with or bring up to a new employer that you might need extra assistance, or you might need an extra day when you're just having one of those, like, bipolar days, and you just can't. It's been easy for me to get away with that not working, but it's not something I can get away with now that I'll be going in, especially hopping in full time. I didn't even ease my way back into work. I just jumped right back into like one of the most stressful full-time jobs of event planning there is.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Misha, my name is Pauline Joe. I'm a therapist here alongside Yvonne. We apologize that it says Frank Lartey. I'm not sure why it pops up that way, but Frank unfortunately could not join us this morning, but you actually came at the right time. You might have heard we were talking about Olympian Simone Biles. So we were talking about the pressures of like having taking care of our mental health, but also like feeling conflicted and like having to go to work. And so you came at the absolute perfect time.
Nice. Okay, glad. I caught a snippet of it, so I figured this was the right place to be. And that being said, with my new work schedule, this will also be the last session I'll be able to attend, because I'll have to start being at work at 9 a.m. now in the mornings, which makes me really sad because I really enjoy these Q&As a lot. And it's been a part of my recovery when, Frank was doing other groups, including this group. So I'll be sad to not be able to attend, but I at least know that I had the time today to do it and wanted to just pop in and share that.
Well, I as well wanted to congratulate you on your new endeavor. This is huge. And I'm glad that these groups have been a vital part to your recovery. We are, there's nothing solidified, but Yvonne and I were just thinking like, oh, maybe if we like switch the time, maybe we could like accommodate more people, especially our folks that are working. Like maybe we could try to do it during people's lunch breaks. And so, always stay tuned. Things are always possible, but to kind of rewind, your question is what can you do in this situation where you haven't worked in a long time and now you're going like full force? And you're wondering, how do you articulate that to your supervisor? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it was yuppie.
Um, well, I'm hearing that again.
More so if I have to disclose that, like, I suffer from a disability, not suffer from, excuse me, rephrase, live with, mental illness in the event that I needed to use like a disability benefit or something like that. Like, is that something, a conversation that you have in the beginning? Is it a conversation that you have if you feel like an episode is coming on and then you discuss it with your employer? I just don't know what the protocol for that is and how open this company is to employee wellness as yet, since I haven't started there.
Sure. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But I'm hearing for you that timing is really important. And so, since you are at a stage where your mental health is pretty good, you've got a lot of education, you feel like you are practicing that maintenance, you may want to ease into the company. Spend the time to just know that you're new, you're getting to know the environment, you're getting to know the people, the culture, and maybe take some notes down of, what is it that you notice. And then once, you've collected enough information, maybe the first 2 weeks, a month, to then consider, okay, is this appropriate, or do I feel like I can trust my supervisor enough to say it? My experience with working with clients who have had disabilities and had to articulate that at work, whether it's a disability from mental health or a physical disability or whatnot, is to again kind of use your intuition and feel out, when is best. Sometimes people, they have no choice; they have to say it day one. Other times, people can take a little bit more time. And really just get acclimated, and your employer is going to understand, in the very first 90 days there's a lot of adjustments. And you can, even for you, Misha, frame it in a way that doesn't necessarily emphasize the diagnosis, but more so, this is an adjustment to me, having not worked full time for a whole year, and now I'm working full time and I'm in person. And so I feel that I'm capable of, keeping up with the company, or whatever the spiel is. But I might need to kind of take the necessary steps to keep taking care of myself. How does that feel, kind of having that type of conversation?
That type of conversation feels very authentic, and then like it would flow, very naturally and easily after being there for just a little bit, because I know walking into them already, they're kind of like, this is going to be go 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 for like the first couple weeks, couple months. And so I think it's a conversation I would probably have within like those first 2 weeks after seeing what the workload is like. And I think it would come out just the way that you described it, very naturally and like in an authentic manner, that, is something that I'm managing, but I would like to keep, at the forefront of my being in order to be able to be a good performer at work. This is something that needs to be taken care of. And, maybe generate solutions. Like if I do have to be out a day or so, it could be possibly a day that I could work remotely instead, and pick up on work instead of having to go into the office. So maybe kind of bringing that to the table sounds like a really good idea. Oh, why?
Sure. So for you, presenting it in a way that you already have solutions. So I think that that would show the employer that you are proactive rather than say reactive. Hey, I have to be realistic. This is, what I live with. However, these are solutions that I can present to you to assure that I can still get the work done, but maybe with a little bit of accommodation or assistance.
I really like that. Thank you for that.
No
Okay.
problem. Now I'm wondering, Misha, have you had a chance to review like the orientation paperwork?
No, I don't think that I have. The only thing I've reviewed was the consent form, and that's about it. Because I remember when it was just on Wednesdays only, and then it got canceled those were canceled so that we could start the new meeting for every day. But I don't recall receiving or filling out any orientation paperwork.
Okay. Perhaps when you get to the orientation phase, that could be a time for you to really, read through everything, highlight, get an exact idea of what is expected of you day to day, week to week, month by month.
Oh, you mean orientation at work? I thought you meant orientation to the group. Sorry. Yes. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense now.
Put that on there.
But yeah, that's actually a good idea. I think what the most challenging part of it is
You
that
can do it down the floor.
I will, sweetie. I will be the one that I'm not coming into an established program. I'm coming into a program that needs to be established, which isn't something, I went to school for it, but that was years ago. And I haven't worked in food and beverage hospitality and events in about 5 years because my previous employer was working like in an office before I was laid off for the pandemic. So it's like refreshing my memory and kind of just working on my self-esteem around being able to know that I can actually do this. And I think that's where a lot of the pressure is coming from internally. Like, am I going to be able to do this? Is it going to give me a nervous breakdown? Because like I'm building this program for these people from scratch, pretty much on my own. It's not really with a team. It's like in my hands to come up with all the facets from what I understand from the job description. But I think, like, to what you're saying, waiting until the orientation until I get there Monday, I believe it's Monday and Tuesday, that I'll have a clearer perspective, and then that will allow me to be able to kind of balance or figure out the balance and the management of like what I need to be able to do to accomplish this that won't, trigger those anxieties and those fears and those negative self-talks that I always, tend to get on myself about, that lowers my self-esteem and my self-confidence and capabilities to get things completed.
Sure. So for you, Misha, you struggle with self esteem at times, which is fairly natural, I feel like, for anyone, and especially you kind of just reacclimating yourself in the industry is huge. And so if you know that, say, self-esteem or any negative thoughts around your self-esteem or confidence is a trigger, a way that I would reframe that thought is that, you know, you have made it this far in your career. And if they did not believe you couldn't do it, sorry, if they did not believe that you could do it, then they wouldn't have taken you this far and they wouldn't have hired you, which means that they do see potential in you and that there is going to be room for growth. But there's also so much that, even though you might have to brush up on because it's been a while, you know deep down inside, and you do have the skills and the capacity to help this company reach their goals.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that reminder as well, that, you know, out of all the other candidates they could have spoken to or interviewed, I don't know how many, they ultimately did end up choosing me. So, because they liked my resume. Now let's see if that translates to real life, because my dad kind of helped me with that. For the most part, it is everything I've done though.
Sure, yeah. It sounds like the way you polished it just happened to be like the best red bow on top, and that's okay. You know, um, the resume stage and the interviewing stage is um, just the very beginning. Um, and that being said, Yvonne, I apologize I didn't get to ask, but what are your thoughts on Misha's situation as well as what we've discussed thus far?
I would say, what she's doing now is very good. Regarding the, starting a new job, while she is there, when she does go for her orientation and is there, I would say interview them as well, like find out more about them so you can kind of understand better what the culture is there, ask pertinent questions that you need answered for you to continue to make your decision about, is this a place I should be? Is it going to work for me? So forth and so on. And also, as Pauline Joe said, regarding your expectations, things like that, that's something you can, kind of reframe as well, as you're, when you're there, what's going to happen, what's the time frame for these things, how does things work there, just for your own benefit. And then I would also say too, just to kind of calm some of your anxiety, do a little planning ahead of time. What things are you thinking about? What things, do you want to implement while you're there? Because you're going to start planning this whole thing yourself. This is something new for you. I would say do as much planning as you can. That also will be helpful. And do you have to disclose, your mental health situation that you have? Is that something that you need to, inform them about? And then also, as regarding your resume that you said, those are things that you've done, but just kind of maybe look over it a little bit and say, oh, I want to highlight this, different things like that. And then also look at what things you've done in the past, the things that you've already accomplished. You've gotten this far. I'm sure you're very capable. And think about the strategies and things that you want to put in place in the event that you do have an episode or a trigger, and make that available to yourself. Maybe planning before you go to work. If something were to happen, what would you do? What would you do? So just kind of putting things in place for yourself. You want to make sure you're safe mentally, all those things. And then as when Pauline Joe was talking about This is a new environment. This is after the pandemic. I want to continue, um, you know, uh, doing what I was doing. You want to keep yourself safe, all those kinds of things like that. I think that will help also alleviate some of that anxiety you may have. And then going into a new job, that's normal, having some anxiety. Myself, you're going into a new environment. That's a very normal thing. So be patient with yourself as well. It's been over a year, and it's been over 5 years since you've done this kind of work. Be patient with yourself. And whatever other resources or things you feel you need to put in place before you begin, you can, ask us some questions, and see what kind of input you can get from others, friends, support system that you have. All of those things would be very, very helpful for you. And again, I think you will do a wonderful job. I think they would be very happy to have you.
Thank you, Miss Yvonne. I really appreciate that. That was a lot of helpful information. I've been taking notes as you guys have been talking because it's just helping me feel better. And, I'm going to spend the weekend. And another challenge that I feel that I have is, figuring out the work-life balance, or going to have to refigure out the work-life balance with having, as you all can see in the background, my 4-year-old, very energetic son. Yes, in a minute. And just not to overwhelm myself with, the difference between home life and now going back to work. Because when I was working before, regardless, at my old place, it still was only part-time. And we had a nanny, and there he is. So this is going to be also one of the other new challenges, is working full-time while maintaining the lifestyle with him. I think that seems overwhelming at the time too. Like, I want to take the time, for example, I want to take the time this weekend. He's got like 10 million play dates, but I also want to take that time, like you said, to do my research, and to bring some things to the table already that I have done in the past. And it's just a matter of finding that balance and that time to be able to do both.
You're right, Misha. Part of working is not just figuring out the job, but then figuring out how that job balances with your personal life. Um, I really appreciated earlier what Yvonne said about having time to write things down. If you know that you function better on like planning and being organized, writing things down may help. And kind of on that topic of writing things down, again, you went through a 8-week PHP program. It sounds like you learned a lot, and you're getting this opportunity to start new or start different. And so perhaps maybe even reflecting on some of the things that you learned in PHP. So meaning to say, when we go into work is unfortunately always going to be stressful. I think we all wish if we could go into work and not be stressed and just make all the money. That would be ideal, right? But unfortunately, all jobs has to have pressure, has to have stress. So we know we can't eliminate that. So we put it in our mind, we can't eliminate that. But what we can control, or what we do have the power, is to identify what are perhaps our triggers. And with Yvonne's example of writing things down, it may benefit you to kind of create like a pocket roadmap, if that makes sense. So I know you want to keep things within yourself and not, display it to your employer or maybe not just yet, right? And so maybe having like what I mean by pocket roadmap is like kind of like a piece of paper that you can fold up and put in your pocket. And what that is um, you notice a trigger, and then you can kind of write on the other side what are things that you can do to help you through that trigger. I think that sometimes when we have mental health challenges, which everyone definitely does to some degree, we tend to think, oh no, if we have a trigger, that means like I failed at my job, or I'm going to lose my job, or kind of that catastrophic thinking, when there's kind of that middle ground where we have the trigger and obviously we're preventing wanting anything to happen to the job. So in the middle, it's like, well, I can't go home right now, but what is it that I can do to help myself, get through this trigger? Can I call my family? Can I call my friends? Can I take like a 5 minute bathroom break and maybe do some deep breathing in the hallway? Can I, you know, play Candy Crush for 2 minutes to get my mind distracted? So I really, again, sorry, I appreciate, Yvonne, that idea of planning ahead and writing some things down.
Me too. Thank you guys. It's been like really helpful and really kind of calming. I've been going through it because I meet with my therapist once a week. I've kind of been going through this process, with her and like talking it out with her. And I'm getting some I like going to new groups because I get something different out of each of them, such as this information, writing things down, and the pocket roadmap, which is something really super cute because it's like a creative project that I could like make. And I love laminating, and I can keep like a laminated like ID card like in my wallet, of like these things, these tools and skills that I learned from PHP.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. You sound very creative. That would be wonderful. I think that would even, using colors and things like that to do that for yourself, that card, I think that would just brighten up your day. Just like I have something right here I can use right at this moment.
Yeah.
That immediacy would be great. Yes.
I love that. It's like something I want to go like start working on now.
Yeah. I even want to see it. Yeah, sounds great.
I will. Next time I'm able to pop in, I will definitely show it to you.
Yeah, wonderful. And I just had a question for you regarding, like your triggers, how you deal with things throughout the day. I was going to say, think about what energizes you and what drains you. Maybe thinking about those two things too for your day on a daily basis as you prepare those cards for yourself and how to manage that.
That's a really great thought process, because I would have been solely focused on just the things that trigger me, and I know like what those are, but not in a sense, I haven't thought about it in a sense of what would energize me and what different things would actually drain me and how to manage those things. So I'd like to add that to my card. Thank you for that new piece of information.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Yvonne, what great input. I definitely agree with you that when we pay attention to what energizes us versus what drains us, that helps us have a good control of our mental health, because we know, okay, what is it that maybe we can not engage in, or what are things that maybe are not benefiting us.
Yeah, it kind of like changes the mental perspective rather than from focusing on the negative to focusing on the positive and the happy and the good. And I think that's where like I've struggled in the past. Like I get so caught up in like the negative that I forget to think about like what are the good things that what are the things that make me actually feel like good. So to have that like be a part of my card, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to create this because I'll have a little office. And I remember in PHP we created this thing called like the emotional cube, and it was like color coded, and it looked like a little, just like a little cube full of like different colors, and each color kind of represented like an emotion or something like that. But I could take that to like a next level and maybe keep it as like something on my desk. And like, if I'm feeling some type of way, like flip that cube over and like have that little card in my wallet, it's like different things. Thanks, guys. This has been really, really helpful. I'm sorry I have to hop off because I only did have till 9:30 because it's breakfast time. But I really appreciate this feedback, and I'm feeling a bit more confident, and I have some tools right now that I can actually start using today to put into place to start planning for this on Monday. And I would love to be able to pop in one day, maybe during the week. It'll probably be later on in the meeting, and kind of like update you on how things have gone.
That's wonderful, Misha. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're glad that you did pop in today, and I'm glad we were able to help you, be helpful to you.
Thank you, Missy Pond. Thank you, Pauline Joe. That's my grandmother's name, by the way. I love that.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Beautiful
Wow.
name.
Very small.
Wow.
Yes. So thank you, ladies. I'm going to hop off right now, but thank you so much. You have no idea how helpful this has been, even though I came in all late because I was registering and blah, blah, blah. It was definitely worth it.
That's okay. Well, you take care. Wishing you the best of luck in the beginning of your
Thank
journey.
you.
Maybe we'll cross paths again.
Yes.
Yes,
Take care.
absolutely. Have a great weekend.
Sure,
You
guys.
too. Bye.
Bye.